Yes.
So sync. Do you know what Be Real is?
Be real?
Yeah, it's an app where like at a random time of the day, it'll be like, hey, it's time for you to be real. And so it takes a picture of your front and back camera, and then the thing with it is like you're supposed to just do it when it pops up, but really you can do it at like any point of the day.
Mm-hmm.
But you post that, and then you see what your friends are posting after you posted your picture, and you can like react by like putting a little picture of your face and stuff. It's really fun. I like it a lot.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's cool because like I don't know, you're just seeing what your friends are doing in that moment, and then like when you get I just got the notification, and then everyone gets a notification, and then you're like taking a picture.
Hmm.
It's cool.
That is pretty cool.
Wait, so
Oh.
have we started recording?
Yeah, I already started recording.
Oh shit. Okay.
No, that's
Um,
good. I mean, it's good intro talk, I guess. I
I'm not trying to make. I'm not trying to.
It's a good cold open.
It's an alright cold open. I think we had better cold opens. I do not. I'm not sponsored. I'm not doing marketing for that app. I just think it's fun to see what my friends are doing at a given time.
I'm not gonna lie, when you said be real, I thought I was gonna get like fucking D's nuts or something. But no, it's an actual app. Like I was like, be real what? Be a real bitch.
Oh my god, that's so violent.
then-
No, I would never. I would never do that to you ever. I would never do that.
That's a fucking lie.
That is a fucking lie. Welcome to the Broken Build podcast.
We are back. We actually made a consistent weekly recording.
We are here. This is the second week in a row. This is the second week in a row we are recording, which is impressive considering it's our third recording ever.
Yes, it's our third recording, our second consecutive recording.
I'm gonna start by doing like a little snack check. I don't know if you have a snack that you take.
I actually have a full dinner that I didn't
I would
eat.
love to show you Juniper being very interested in my little mozzarella balls that I brought over from the fridge. It's not for you. It's not for you, sweetheart. For the listeners at home, my cat was trying to sniff into my cheese. But I have
Oh, there's an entire tail.
Yeah, this is how it goes. She has no respect for my personal space. But I have the Beach Plum LaCroix, classic. You already know. This is the best LaCroix. I will not be taking comments or opinions in the comments. I know I'm right. You don't have to try.
I don't like LaCroix, so I'll take your word for it.
You're missing out. It's okay. And then I have mozzarella. Juniper, I'm recording the podcast.
She's covering the entire camera with her whole ass.
Okay, honey. Get out of here.
It's like swiping in front, back and forth like a fucking Muppet. Like being dragged off camera. It's like,
You can make like a transition of like you track the tail and then you put a different face.
Use Juniper's tail for a fucking transition. That's not a bad idea. But I'll give you an answer based off how motivated my ADHD feels in the middle of editing.
Right, it's probably no.
So it's like it's either it's gonna get done and it's gonna be fucking killer, or it's just gonna be cut. There's nothing in between.
Fair enough. So,
how was your week?
My week was good. My week was, my week. It's this question is always hard. Because I can't be like, oh, I did so and so at work, obviously. But I was at work, and I've been working. I've been working hard. I've been working good. I've been a good boy. But I'm more excited about next week, really. Because next week I get to go to LA. I'm taking PTO for the first time since I graduated college, where I transitioned.
Wait, hold on. You've never taken a vacation since you've started in this industry?
My last vacation was Christmas of 2019. Like pre-COVID.
Shit. Oh my god, it's been...
That's like 3 years or so.
Yeah.
2.5.
Fucking hell. Okay.
Immigrant things, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, when I just graduated college, and then obviously it was like May of 2020 when I graduated, and then I had my internship was starting on June 1st with San Diego Studios, so I never took a vacation because I was at home. Because obviously I'm not going to take a vacation 2 months into COVID because we were all at home. And then didn't take a vacation until right now. So
I'm gonna ask a immigration question. Are you not allowed to leave the U.S. at all?
currently, no. Well, okay. I'm allowed to leave the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
But because my visa is expired and I work currently I work on a work authorization, which is called, for anyone that knows, it's called STEM OPT, which means it's optional practical training for STEM students. My major counted as STEM with the government.
Shout out to women in STEM.
Shout out to women in STEM, Bunsen burners, all that. And then that really threw me off, Adrian. That really threw me off. But yeah, I'm back. We're back. Stop laughing. We're back. Juniper, please. This is my cat. She wants my cheese. Ow. I'm on STEM OPT, which means I'm on a work authorization, which means that my visa is expired because it's after my visa. I'm on a school visa still. I'm on a student visa. It lasted 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm here working, but since my visa is expired, coming back into the country is a lot more complicated. Leaving, no problem. Coming back in is complicated without a visa. I'd need a bunch of extra documents, and then with COVID, I haven't really wanted to chance leaving.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm working on getting a work visa when, that goes how it goes, and I'm just gonna wait for that to see if I can leave the country or not.
Gotcha.
To go see family and stuff. I haven't left the U.S. since 2019.
It's okay. I haven't left the U.S. since '97. But no, that's crazy. I've never had to. Obviously, I've never had to deal with anything in terms of immigration or whatever. Mm-hmm. So I'm just always curious. I've heard terrible things, how brutal it is and how a big pain in the ass it is to do anything involving a work visa or just green cards in general. So it's nuts to me.
Yeah, it sucks ass. I'm gonna be honest with you. It's not great. It's pretty stressful. You can't really be unemployed.
Yeah.
I have on my current work situation, I have 60 days of unemployment before they ask me to leave very kindly because,
Yeah.
And then getting the work visa is a whole other thing because you gather all your documents and you apply for it, right? It usually helps if your company sponsors you. Well, I don't even know if there's a way to do it independently. You have to get a company to sponsor you, right? And so for me, PlayStation has been sponsoring me. The issue lies with the fact that the H-1B visa, which is a worker visa, has a cap, a yearly cap of how many people they'll give a visa to. And that cap is way lower than how many people apply. So they do a lottery. It's a lottery. You just take your chances.
Motherfuckers out here gambling just for a chance to do anything.
I'm gambling to be able to stay in this country, bro. I've lived here for 6 years.
You've been here for fucking half a decade, and now you just gotta gamble to keep a life. I gotta gamble
to make sure my life doesn't fall apart, and I have to move back to a country I have very little ties to anymore.
Shout out to fucking loot boxes in the government system, I guess.
Shout out to government gotcha. I'm playing fucking Genshin Impact, bro, trying to get a work visa.
Fucking gotta roll just to live.
I'm playing Candy Crush, trying to like match 3 so my visa will come through better.
Extra life, extra life. Fuck. Deported.
Deported.
God damn it.
Yeah, but I failed this year. I didn't get it this year. And I have one more try next year. My current work authorization expires May 25th of 2023. So I have until then. And we'll see what happens. I have no idea.
That's terrifying.
Yeah, it's pretty scary. And I think that actually this is a pretty good thing to talk about. I think this is way more common than you think in the U.S. games industry. Not you specifically, the metaphorical you, the royal.
No,
you,
yeah.
It's very common to have workers on visas in the games industry. It's very common to, and it's we get discriminated against by companies a lot. Because we're seen as extra paperwork or like extra costs or like more overhead to take care of. A lot of smaller studios don't even consider us. They're like, no, we can't. We don't know how to do it. And I'm like,
yeah, it's like US only.
Yeah, often I've had to like teach studios like, hey, you can actually employ me. There's no difference. Like you just have to sign up for this like tiny little government program that like doesn't cost anything called E-Verify.
Yeah.
But yeah, this happens all the time. If you require sponsorship, like I've gone all the way to like interviews with like art directors and stuff. And then recruiters will ask like, hey, what's your immigration status? And I'll be like, I'll require sponsorship in like 2023. And they're like, no, sorry, we can't. And this is like big companies. I'm not gonna name companies because I'm not trying to like start
blacklisted.
Yeah, because I don't care that much.
Yeah.
But it's significantly lowered my chances of getting a job. And considering you need it to be even able to stay, right? There's a catch-22 there, I think, especially with the games industry or the entertainment industry, because it takes a long time to get hired in games. This is something that is not necessarily talked about a lot. The application process for a games job or a tech job is like, it can be like 3 months.
Yeah, 100%.
Like rounds and rounds of interviews. You get your like screening interview with a recruiter. You get a second, like a technical interview, or you get an art test, some bullshit like that. I hate art tests. We could actually, let's talk about art tests after we're done with this.
I want to talk about this application process because I actually been through a lot of the application process in like the last couple months too.
Yeah, you've been you just recently started on at Forza.
Yeah, and I had like fucking 4 or 5 other studio interviews. And it was
No, I've been there. Before I landed at Valkyrie, I was interviewing.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the way the process goes, for anyone that doesn't know, usually I speak for myself as an artist, and Adrian chime in because obviously every studio is different. But you get your screening interview with the recruiter. The recruiter generally doesn't know much about art. They're just looking at your resume and they're seeing, okay, credentials, here's the buzzwords I'm looking for, right? And then you talk to them. They give you info about the role, they take your information, and then they're like, let's schedule an interview with the art director or the team lead, whatever, right? Then you do that interview. It can be a technical interview, it can just be a general interview. Generally, like, you'll have your portfolio open, and then they'll like talk to you about your portfolio, ask questions. It's happened before where I've been asked questions about like how I would problem solve a technical issue related to a game engine or conflict resolution within a team, that type of stuff. They're trying
That's
to
a very common one.
Yeah, just they're trying to suss out how good you would fit within a team, I think, and also your artistic skill and like your problem solving. And then the third one, this is not for everything, but the third one generally would be an on-site interview, in quotation marks, on-site.
Yeah.
Where they would fly you in normal times. Now they don't necessarily do it. They just have like longer rows of interviews where you meet a bunch of different people on a bunch of different teams. and then you all talk to them. This can last like a day. They'll take you out to lunch. They'll do stuff, and then they all decide if they want to hire you or not. That's usually the final interview, right?
That
And
was
then
my final interview.
yeah, and it depends on the studio. I know, for example, Riot Games has a super specific, extensive process that other studios don't. Personally, I only had 2 interviews with Valkyrie before I got hired. I got the recruiter call and then the technical interview, and then I got hired out of that. So what can happen if you're in game art, or even I've heard of engineers or designers getting tests, like code tests or like design tests and stuff like that. This is more common in at lower levels, but you'll get like a test.
Yeah.
They'll give you like a week, 2 weeks to like complete a task, a set task. Usually it's unpaid, which is therein lies the issue, right?
Every associate and like entry level position I've gotten has an art test.
Yeah, I've done a couple art tests as well.
I think I've done like 3 in my career. And
Yeah.
I've gotten only 1 job out of the 4 or 3 in my career.
It's art tests are exhausting, right? Because generally you're already working full time.
Yeah.
And then you gotta take your evenings and your weekends to do a whole extra, usually week or 2 of work. So you're working double time those weeks to make a whole thing that generally sometimes they use in the games, they don't even credit you, and then sometimes it leads to nowhere. You don't even get anything from it.
Yeah.
And you're not allowed to post it anywhere, and et cetera, et cetera. It's kind of it's rough out there.
Yeah. I'm not gonna say which studios I did an art test with, but I remember before I got a job at Forza, I did an art test, an interview with the recruiter, and that like whole after the art test, I met the entire team for an on-site, and I was on call for like I think it was like 5 hours.
5 hours? Jesus.
Yeah, from like 8 to 2, something like that.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it was brutal. I didn't get the gig, which sucked, but I was like, I noticed that like when they asked a lot of experience, because they wanted to go with someone more experienced. But I think the only reason they went with that is because I couldn't say what I was working on at the time.
Yeah, because you couldn't say you were working on part 1.
Yeah, I couldn't say like, oh no, I remember one of the interview questions. It's like, when you're at this point, you don't really need to move around too much, because like unless you want to go work on different titles like The Last of Us or something. And I just had to look at him with the fucking desk there, like, yeah, that's crazy, right?
That would be great to work on that game.
Yeah, I'm like, I wonder what environment artists are on there. They're really cool people. It's like, but you can't, like, I legally couldn't say shit.
Yeah.
And then I eventually just took the L on the position, which
The
sucks.
catch-22 for sure.
And it's like, I know some people break NDA, but I choose not to. People can do whatever they want, because you know what, get the bag. Who gives a shit? I just didn't want to at the time.
How long was that time frame of you interviewing with that studio?
Claire, do you remember how long it was? Was it like a month? It was like about a month, yeah? Yeah, so I was in that whole process for about a month.
That's pretty fast, all things considered.
Not the fastest, though. So, with this position at Turn 10, a recruiter reached out to me on LinkedIn. And I got an interview a week after, like, I got the call on a Thursday. They set up the interview on Friday for Tuesday. And then they gave me an offer letter on Friday, on the following Friday.
That's fast.
It was insanely fast. It was really jarring. Luckily, I asked for. Sorry, I'm trying to not burp into the microphone.
Burp check.
It's like, and luckily I asked him like, hey, I'm gonna need at least 3 weeks to like make sure I'm settled. Like I gave my 2 weeks at Sony, and then I took a drive to Forza. I guess her.
Nah, cars.
Yeah,
Car game, funny.
car game, vroom. But
Would it? Is it? Not nice to say that I've never played a Forza game.
no, so a couple of people have said that to me already. It's like I have no interest in Forza games, and it's like I 100% get it. They're racing simulations. They're
like there's 2 series, right?
yeah. So there's the Horizon series, and then there's the Motorsport. Motorsport is the one I'm on, and that's like super simulation heavy.
Like sim, yeah.
Yeah, like you can adjust tires for wear and like turning speed and like shit. Like even I know it's like crazier now because they're like revamping everything on it, and they're even having it so like even basic like if your car is going straight. No, it's in the. It was on the E3.
Okay.
It was on the E3 review.
Just NDA check real quick.
No, yeah. The E3 the E3 reveal is basically what I'm basing the statement on, but like they're revamping everything from scratch, which is really cool.
Nice.
Whereas Horizon is more free roamy. Like Forza Horizon 5 is like you could just drive through most of Mexico City.
Nice.
And like into the desert and stuff, which it's really pretty and it's really cool.
I wouldn't call it arcadey though. From what I've seen, it still seems like, pretty like not simmy, but like pretty realistic.
Yeah, it's more grounded, but it's not up there with like Burnout.
Yeah.
Which Burnout needs to get another game. I want to play a Burnout game.
God, I can't remember. Burnout Paradise was the last one?
I think that was it, but that's the last one I played, but that was on the old Xbox.
Yeah, that was like Xbox. Just Xbox, right?
Full stop, yeah.
It's been a while. Who owns that franchise?
I'll look it up. Whomstuff owns Burnout. I spelled owns wrong.
Investigative journalism, everybody.
Oh, it's EA.
It's makes sense.
Last Burnout game was Burnout Paradise Remastered in 2018.
Damn.
And they were originally made by Criterion Games. Criterion?
Criterion. I think Criterion is closed.
Yeah. I think so, yeah. No, they're doing Need for Speed, I guess.
Oh, that's why they stopped Burnout, because they had EA had Need for Speed.
Oh, and they're a support studio now. Really?
What?
Star Wars, proud to have brought gamers Burnout, Burnout Black, Need for Speed, Star Wars Battlefront 2, Battlefield 5, Firestorm, and Battlefield 2042. And now they're doing Need for Speed.
That sucks, man. There's a new Need for Speed coming out?
Yeah, I think
Oh, Hot Pursuit Remastered, right?
No, I don't know. All it says is now working on Need for Speed. It's like
oh, it's a UK studio, huh?
Yeah, I think we have some homies over there.
Do we?
All right, we're back.
We're back.
But seriously, I don't understand how, like, the concept of really big studios being turned into support studios fucking bothers me.
Yeah.
I don't want to shit on the @V homies, but do you ever play the Tony Hawk Pro Skater remaster for 1 and 2?
Yes, sir. I love those games. So good.
They, like, I think it was like a couple of weeks ago or a month ago, Tony Hawk was saying like, yeah, the remaster 3 and 4 were planned, but then they were changed over to the fucking Blizzard support studio on Diablo.
Yep. That's exactly.
And I'm like, man.
Yep.
I want to fucking do kickflips while Ace of Spades blast in the background. That's all I want.
That sounds.
I'm a simple person.
Yeah, that is a real shame, I think, because they were really good.
Yeah.
They were
Like,
really good. Like those remasters were really really good. And Vicarious are also the people that did Crash, the Crash remasters.
was that them?
Yeah.
I thought that was Toys for
No,
Bob.
Toys for Bob did the Spyro remasters.
Okay.
Crash
Crash
was
remaster
Vicarious.
was amazing.
Vicarious had two. Vicarious has been around for a long time. I know. I know a fair amount about Vicarious Visions because I went to college in upstate New York, and they're one of the only studios in upstate New York for games at this point. There's like Valen, who Knockout City, great game, love that game. But other than that, there's not really that much going on in upstate New York or in the state of New York in general. Surprisingly, New York City doesn't have a big game dev scene, at least with like large studios.
Aren't most of the
I think it's more of an indie affair.
Aren't they in Philly?
Who?
Or Boston? Aren't like, I know there's a bunch of bigger studios in either Philly or Boston.
I don't know, to be honest with you. The Northeast is a bit of a weird conundrum. Everything is so West Coast, like centralized with the games industry, at least in the US.
Yeah.
But Vicarious has been around for such a long time. And I think for a long time they were doing like GBA versions of Activision franchises.
I remember
like-
they did a GBA version of like, what the fuck was it? Jet Set Radio?
Yeah, and they did GBA Tony Hawk's. They did GBA Crash Bandicoots. Like they have a history of those franchises, and a lot of the people over there are really really good. And I was so excited when they got their like. They just got a big break.
Yeah, with
As
the
in like they
the
got their
remasters.
own titles. They got to do like the remasters, and they nailed it. I mean, Insane Trilogy was like really really good, really faithful, like awesome changes. Like it was great. And then obviously Tony Hawk 1+2 was absolutely excellent. Visually, it was stunning. And then they did the game design so well. They mimicked everything exactly how everyone wanted it.
The gravity and the physics of it were perfect. My greatest fear, because I remember there was a remaster for like the 360, and it was like too heavy.
Pro Skater 5 or something.
Yeah, and it was too heavy, and it sucked.
It was bad, yeah.
And then they just came back and killed it. I was like, oh, thank God. This is gonna be fucking fantastic. And I think it was like my top 5 games of that year.
Part of that studio had been helping on the Diablo 2 remaster for a long time. And then they got transformed into a full support studio, and this has been happening, I think, everywhere.
Yeah.
Everywhere within big companies. You know, I mean, games are so big, games are so expensive. If you are playing a game that is published by like any of the big publishers, I can promise you it is not made by one studio.
No,
There's
not at
one
all.
studio that maybe has like the creative directors and like some workforce, but like a large amount of the work is done by outside studios.
Or
Outside
even
studios being partners, co-developers, outsource studios. That's just how AAA works now.
yeah, like honestly, if you just have a really solid basic understanding of environment art, and you like, let's say you just kind of can't do it, or like, and you have a more production heavy mind, you can be an OS artist, and you will be fucking loved, because you save so many asses.
This is what you did.
Yeah.
On Last of Us, right? Or
I did that
at Sony.
I did that for Sony for about a year, I think. Yeah, almost a year.
So, do you want to talk a little bit about what being an outsource review artist means? Because I think a lot of people don't know what that is.
Yeah, because yeah, I don't mind that. It's really because it's fairly new. It's become
It's a very new position. I would say within the last 5 years has it really been its own job, really.
Yeah.
I think before it was absorbed by team members, and
Before
I've
it.
done it as a team member on other projects,
Hmm.
which is why I know your job is essential, because I almost died
Yeah. It's
doing all
like
that.
it's like you can either have your environment art team crunch while making their own shit, or you can just pay someone else to do a bunch of it.
Probably worth the overhead having an extra person anyway. So
Honestly. All right, quick synopsis. So I would basically sit in on almost every level review that Visual Arts was working on for Last of Us, with art directors, lead artists. I was with the team. I was there almost every step of the way, and we'd be working with each other to figure out what we need to change, what needs to get upres, if we need full buildings for vistas, backgrounds, all that shit. Like, I would figure out, I would talk to them like, what do we need? Is there a specific way you want it done? Like, do you want this done trims? Do you want it 1-to-1? Do you want all that shit? And I would take all that. I would add my own stuff, because sometimes they're busy and they only can give you like a brief. It's like, oh, we need new action figure toys for a mall section or whatever. Like, and it's like, oh, cool. Like, what do you mean? And it's like, just go for it. And I'm like, all right, cool. So I'd make block meshes. I would get scales. I'll do everything to fit our engine. And then I would I'd make like little, they're called art briefs. And a lot of studios call it art briefs, packages, whatever. But basically, you'd be like, you tell the outsource studios, you talk to like their PM or whatever. You talk to them, be like, this is what we need. We need it by this date, because this is our deadline or whatever. And they'd come back with an estimate. You approve it, deny it, just based off like a finagle. Because sometimes they would try to finagle, just to get some extra cash. Like, say we needed, what's a really generic prop?
a building.
Yeah. All right. Actually, here, let's go a little more simple. So, like, let's say
you need a
we
barrel
need a trash
or
can.
crate.
We need a trash can, right? It's like, all right, we need a simple trash can. We have a metal trim for it. We just need it to fit this. We do need a bag over it, like a trash bag, right? It's like, we have generic trash to fill it with, so we'll supply you a trim, the trash, and we just need essentially the object and the simulation of the trash bag going over it, or whatever you would like to do. And then we'll come back with an estimate. It's like, we can get this done within like 5 days, like 3 to 4 days.
Sure.
And it's like 3 to 4 days, that's fine. Like, you approve, and then you just talk back and forth as it's going through. And sometimes shit happens with holidays, and because not everyone's in the US, they actually have time off.
Yeah.
Whereas sometimes they would come back with the same prop and be like, all right, we'll get this done in 2 weeks. And you're like, no.
That's too
Yeah,
much. Yeah.
that's too much time, and that's money, because you're being charged for...
By the day.
Yeah, you're getting charged
Usually
by the
a day
day.
rate when you work with a studio.
Yeah. And you just go back and forth, and you're constantly talking with the artist. You're basically you're making sure everyone gets their shit. And it goes to the level, and then everyone's so everyone's saving each other's ass to make sure the game's done. And we're basically just an in-between, talking from studio to studio to studio. And it's why I was like really close with a bunch of Naughty Dog people.
Because you're talking to them every day, trying to figure out what they need, right?
Exactly. It was like I was talking to either a bunch of level artists or even the other outsourced artists half the time. Because my lead, he did a lot of OS work. My lead at Visual Arts, he did a lot of OS work because he was the only one there. But when I came on, he gave me a solid rundown, and he taught me the essentials of how to make things work in their art style and all that shit. He was fantastic. But for the most part, he's just like, you're under Naughty Dog's OS team in a way. So like, you're helping them no matter, like, they're your priority, and they will
Gotcha.
teach you a lot more. And it's like, okay, cool.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's a lot of cool shit, but I missed making stuff.
So yeah, I was gonna ask. That was gonna be my first question. Is like, how much actual stuff did you get? Do you ever get to like, oh, they're like, oh, we don't have enough money to send it. Like, can you make a building, or like,
it wasn't.
can you make a barrel?
Yeah, sometimes. I mean, honestly, it wouldn't be about money because Papa Sony is fucking
Papa
loaded.
Sony, yeah.
It was more about time. So like say we need a bunch of shit simulated, or we just need a bunch of generic props made to fill a level, and it's like everyone else on, like, all the OS artists are filled and they won't be available for like 2 to 3 weeks, and
Yeah.
we need the prop in 2 weeks. I'm like, okay, I'm just doing that for a couple weeks, and it would vary from time to time. So like I was making stuff, but it was never a priority, but I would still make shit.
Yeah. No, I asked because actually, no, I can't. No, I can't say anything. Beep. We're gonna get better at this.
Comes with time.
Catching myself not breaking NDA. But that was really interesting, I think.
Yeah,
I think
and
that was very
obviously
interesting.
some studios do it different. I know like Insomniac, a lot of their outsourced teams do a lot of stuff in studio too.
Yeah.
Like a buddy of mine I met, he's an OS artist and he did a lot of work for Ratchet.
Yeah.
But he was still technically an OS artist, but he made a bunch of like the mechanical stuff for Ratchet.
A lot of stuff at Insomniac is OS, from what I understand. If you're an environment artist, or you're more of a layout artist, like a world builder.
Yeah.
Well, obviously you're making stuff, but like you're spending a lot of time in the level instead of sculpting or modeling.
Yeah. A lot of your focus is on readability. And I think that's why so like the big look for material artists are a thing. Because you just need to make it blend. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. Like it's just the material artists becoming more prevalent and more needed.
Yeah. It's like a lot of people would never like when did like designer pop off? In like the last decade?
2016. Well, it was Josh Lynch pushing it for Advanced Warfare, I want to say.
Yeah, it was COD. Shout out to COD again.
Shout out to COD. It was shout out Josh Lynch.
Yeah.
The first betas for designer came out in like 2015, 2014, I want to say. And people are like, this is kind of cool, but like, how do we use this in a production setting? Photoshop worked great. Imagine Photoshop. Yeah, remember painting your normal maps?
Fuck that. Holy shit.
Like clicking the generate normal map button. Do you remember that shit?
That's how I was taught, and then a year later it became invalid because designer came in. Like designer and painter were like more available. I think it was like no, it was like 2-3 years into me learning everything, and I was like, what is this? I don't have to use Photoshop?
It's crazy to think about, right? Because nowadays, like every single game uses Substance Painter, Substance Designer.
Yeah.
It is the industry standard, right?
Mm-hmm.
At least in my experience, no one is working in Photoshop anymore unless they're like a veteran and they don't want to learn new stuff.
Or it's like a very specific task to do.
Or a very specific workflow.
Yeah. And disclaimer, all this varies from engine to engine and studio to studio. This is just obviously our experience.
This is our experience working. Like we are not end all be all knowledge gods.
We're not the fucking Wikipedia of game dev.
We are not game dev wiki for sure. We're just talking about what we know.
Yeah. I was gonna say that like the fact that in 7 years, like 6-7 years, it's everyone knows designer, or everyone's learning designer or painter, or feel like they have to do it no matter what, unless you go for like hand painted. But even then, hand painted artists use a completely different workflow. They don't they don't use Photoshop unless you're very good at doing that in Photoshop, you know?
Which I've seen.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I think the WoW team still is on Photoshop.
I don't. See, workflow, and the fucking art looks fantastic.
It's crazy. I mean, but you're basically have to be a traditional artist at that point. You know what I mean? It's
That's
an entirely different set of skills.
I'm not a good painter or a good drawing at all, so I'm like, fuck that. I cannot do that.
Me neither, man. That's not my thing.
Do you, since, let's see, you MLB and God of War, do you ever fuck around a lot with photogrammetry at all, or no?
No, I not like generating
everything...
it.
Okay, gotcha.
Placing it, yeah.
Okay. Is that
generating
on
it? No.
predominantly MLB?
I can't really tell you that.
Oh, no worries. Cut!
No, not cut. It's
uncut!
Yeah, you get a lot of stuff that, I mean, photogrammetry is not the end solution. Photogrammetry is a step to get somewhere.
No, yeah, I feel
in my
that.
opinion.
It's a tool.
It's great to get like a base normal or a base height from photogrammetry, and then you can work on top of it to fit your existing style. I think that's awesome. I've done a lot of that in my career.
Okay, yeah. I was just asking because, like, since we're talking about how, like, I'm gonna jerk off COD a little bit, but like how advanced...
It is that segment of the show, everybody.
Yeah, real quick. It's more like, because you mentioned Advanced Warfare.
Yeah, that was not... Can we cut my camera for that 1 second of me?
Yeah, I'll just add a big dick on the camera. Anyway. I didn't know that it was Advanced Warfare that pushed, and Josh Lynch that really pushed designer as much as it did.
People were like, oh, like, this seems useful, but then to convince a studio to change their whole workflow and like start using a new tool, as you might know, is not easy. It's a big decision, right? Because like you have to train all your artists and everyone there. You have to get your engineers in to be like, okay, like, is this feasible on an engine standpoint? Like, can we use what this outputs us? Where in the designer case, the fact that it just exports maps is like the main way it works.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, there's just a bunch of different considerations. Like when a new tool on how to make art is introduced, I can promise you it throws a wrench in every single person on the team.
Yeah.
I've seen this countless times. Obviously, I can't tell you because these are like internal studio affairs. But when a new tool gets introduced, there's like 6 months of chaos.
Yeah.
Just complete, utter chaos. And it can slow down productions for sure. So the fact that they pulled it off on a Call of Duty game of all of them is insane. And then, I mean, Advanced Warfare was like really good looking. I think it came about around the same time that they adopted PBR, that PBR became widely adopted in games. For anyone who doesn't know, PBR stands for physically based rendering, which is the current standard workflow for non-stylized games, like non-hand painted stylized games, where you're using diffuse information, which is the color of what an object looks like, and then you use normal information, which is how would you describe what normals are, Adrian?
I always like to describe normals about how you think something reads, like if it's
the surface, like the creases and
yeah, like the surface information.
It basically what it does is it adds information for the light to read. Right? It reacts to the light. It's based on like the position of the light, and then it'll react appropriately and make a surface look more real, or like add surface detail, basically. Then you get a roughness map, which controls um,
If it's
the
wet or
like the
dry. Yeah.
luminosity against the light, like the way if something's gonna look wet, it's gonna be like shinier, and then like you control that with that. And then the big one with physically based rendering was
Metal.
metalness, metallic. Like seeing if a surface can look metallic or not, which was always. I think this is why a lot of games from the PS3 generation don't hold up very well, because everyone was just like cranking up random fucking values and being like, "This looks like metal." Right?
They
If you
went
look at like
pure white. They didn't go to the gray that often most metals have, or even like pure black. Like there was no in between, which is what most things are.
yeah, I mean, if you look at like Uncharted 2 or like Gears of War, games that were considered very pretty when they came out,
Mm-hmm.
and you look at the metal, you're like, what the fuck is happening here? Because we've seen realistic metal now,
Mm-hmm.
and it doesn't. The old stuff doesn't hold up anymore.
Yeah.
Did I miss something?
No, I mean, and then you have like simple things like AO and all that stuff, but
Ambient occlusion, yeah.
but those are like really
Those are the
odd
basic
things.
3 to 4 maps that you will see on any material.
Yeah, and those are things like we are so aware of now, but it's weird. It's jarring to me that like 7 to 8 years ago, it's just like
Yeah, people were using like gloss maps and like
yeah,
stick maps. Completely different workflows.
it's really. I'm curious to see where everything goes now. I don't know how prominent nanite is gonna be.
Oh, like the Unreal 5 tech?
Yeah, the Unreal 5 tech, which is something that's a entire monkey wrench that I don't know. I need a tech artist on here to talk to me about that.
We should get a
Because
tech artist on here.
can we
soon.
please get a tech artist so I can give him a
Yeah,
stroke
yeah.
with more questions? I bothered mine already. I need more people to bother.
Whoever we get on, they're gonna be like, you did not explain normal maps even close to how they work.
Nope.
And I'm gonna be like, I'm sorry, dude. I just make them look pretty. Like, I don't know how it actually works.
Like, dude, do you think I know what the fuck I'm talking about? And that's the dead. Oh, by the way, I really hate this. I don't hate it, but it's like when new artists or like or students, I hate them because it makes me look bad.
That's it.
No, hold on, no. Let me disclaim this. I hate them because it makes me look bad because when they ask a question and I have no idea what the fuck the answer is, I'm like, bro.
Yeah.
What the fuck is clean topology on a rock? Get this shit out of here.
I tweeted about this today.
Did you really?
Yeah. I wrote a tweet. There's that. Do you know what Grand Designs is?
Yeah, of course I know what Grand Designs is. Send me
so
that
for
tweet.
anyone who doesn't know, Grand Designs is a UK show about people that build houses, and this dude named actually he's a knight, Sir Kevin. What's his last name?
I don't fucking know.
Sir.
Oh wait, he's a sir?
Sir Kevin.
I just call him Kevin.
But he's famous.
Yeah.
He's smart, and there's an account called No Context Grand Design, which just takes random screen caps of the show, with like the caption of whatever they're saying, and then it's funny. No context is funny. I think it's good humor.
Yeah.
And there's one specifically where Sir Kevin has a hard hat, and he's looking at the camera and he goes, "They don't have anywhere to run or hide," and I quote tweeted it, and I will read it to you. Me hunting for shitty collapsed geometry after using Decimation Master on my sculpt and calling that my low poly. That is literally how you make a low poly rock.
Yeah, like
you take your sculpt, you duplicate it in ZBrush, then you click Decimation Master, you click Unamount. If it's too high, you lower it, and then you export that in Maya or whatever your modeling engine of choice is, and then you fix the shitty geo, and then you bake.
I think I was just doing I was doing some rocks for the Rocktober thing, or Rock in January.
Yeah, our rock challenge at the club, yeah.
Yeah, I was just doing that in a, like, in one of the voice chats, and I was just sculpting. And someone, I think it was someone new, I think they were a student, they popped in and they asked me, it's like, oh, are you finished? And I'm like, I was just finishing. It's like, oh, do you want to take that in and retopologize it? And I'm like, what do you mean retopologize? And he's just like, oh, you know, like, you got to make it clean. I'm like, here, let me show you. And then I just went to decimate. And I'm like, all right, we're done.
Yeah, that's pretty much it, really.
It's like, I just got to UV it now. Throw a fucking base.
With organic shapes.
Yeah.
You just soften every edge anyway. You know, it doesn't really matter. As long as it has a try count that's acceptable.
Yeah, I think the only time you even have to care, but even then I've seen some people not give a shit, is if it's a sculpture.
Okay, so the biggest thing is if it gets deformed, it needs proper topology.
But if it's not, it's just...
It really doesn't matter. Yeah, exactly. That's pretty much it. I mean, there's... I think when I was a student, I had this impression that everything I had to do had to be, like, very meticulous and well thought out, and, like, everyone at the professional level was working like this.
Mm-hmm.
As, like, they're masters of their craft, just, like, getting it right every single time. It's a lot of work, it's a lot of, like, deliberation, etc. And then I got there, and curtain falls down. No one has any idea what they're doing. They just works out in the end because that's how
everything's on fire. But
it's fun. It's funny. You know, it's it's a wake up to how reality actually works.
Mm-hmm. I remember I had this one assignment in college where I was just like, oh, do like a simple scene, and I wanted to do like a rooftop that was just like really trashed apart, because I was really in a Kowloon at the time, and I had this idea of someone living on top of a building. And there was this one classmate of mine, he's like, oh, your topology needs to be a lot more clean. And I'm like, why? It's not being animated. Like, nothing, like, it's not being touched. First off, it's like, we're not being judged for topology, we're just being judged on how...
Aesthetics?
Yeah. And it's like, I don't know. I think it was also because they're an animation student, and I think animation does quads or something.
Well, you have to in a lot of cases because you have to deform things.
Yeah.
And if you have like shitty collapsed tries everywhere, like it's not.
Yeah, it just goes burnt. By the way, I apologize to every character artist out here that has to actually do proper topology.
Yeah, sorry guys, that sounds rough.
Yeah.
Never heard of it though.
Yeah. We're gonna take your texture budget too. Don't worry about it though. I need some extra.
Yeah, we will be taking your alpha budget.
I need some extra grass, fam.
Yeah,
fuck your hair.
There's a lot of grass in the level. We're just
throw a hat on your character or whatever.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Give him like a hoodie or something. It's not that bad.
Yeah, you know the ponytail. Just do a ponytail. Make your character bald.
Yeah, why? We need more bald characters that are not PS3 era like G.I. Joe types. Like the only bald man I found relatively interesting was Cole from Infamous. You remember Infamous?
Yeah.
But like every other character had like a crew cut or like a buzz cut, and was just like
Marcus
I have a
Phoenix
gun.
and his bandana.
Sorry?
You don't like Marcus Phoenix and his bandana going, dumb, get the hammer.
What game was that?
Gears of War? You never played Gears of War?
I was not an Xbox kid.
Oh, were you PlayStation?
I was a Nintendo kid. And then I got a PS3 like way late.
I never had a PS3. I didn't get a PS4 until God of War came out. I was Xbox 360.
I got a PS3 when the Slim came out, and it was like hella cheap to get a PS3. Like hella. like late into the gen, and then when I got to college, I bought a PS4. So I was like very late for the PS4.
Yeah.
I bought a used PlayStation 4 at GameStop with what games did I buy for it? I bought Final Fantasy X remastered,
Okay.
and then let's see, I had my game. What was the other game? God, I'm such a weeb. It was fucking Tales of Berseria. Do you know the Tales
That's a
series?
good game. I've heard those games are fucking fantastic, but
They're great.
I've never.
And then Last of Us remastered. That was that was my first game, my first PlayStation 4 game. And I was like, this shit crazy.
My first PS4 game was God of War.
Good choice.
I bought my PS4 in April. I bought it for my birthday in 2018 because I was working, and it's like, oh hey, God of War just came out.
Mm-hmm.
Might as well play it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, wait, video games are cool.
I know, right? It was, I think with The Last of Us and God of War, I think what happened for me is a little bit of a shift into this is entertainment. From this is entertainment to like, oh, this makes me feel a lot of things.
Yeah, that's actually a good question we'll end on, because we're closing on like almost 55 minutes. Surprisingly, we did a great job, but I wanted to ask you, what was the game that shifted your perception from this is a video game to this can be a form of art?
Do you really want to know the answer to that?
I'm curious.
Do you want me to show my whole ass right now?
Show your whole ass, because
Kingdom Hearts 2.
Really?
Yeah, dude.
No, like I didn't know it was that early.
Yeah, hella early. So I played the Kingdom Hearts series out of order. Fun fact.
Mm-hmm.
I played Kingdom Hearts 1 for like 10 minutes at someone's house, like relatives, friends' relatives or something.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, it was 2000, like around when Kingdom Hearts 2 came out. So it was like 2005, 2006.
Yeah.
And I played for 10 minutes. I'm like, I have to play this shit. This is crazy. I was like watching Dragon Ball Z. I was like having a great time. And I was like, I didn't know this was a thing. And we had just gotten a PS2 because there was a deal with our washing machine where you could get a PS2 Slim. One of those really skinny ones.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
They had so much stock of PS2s in France that if you bought a washing machine, they had a deal where they would also give you a PS2. And we had just moved into a house in France. And my mom was like, do you guys want this? To me and my brother. And we were like, yes, because we had a GameCube at that point, and I all my friends were talking about Grand Theft Auto, and I was like, what the fuck is a Grand Theft Auto? I'm playing Super Mario Sunshine.
Yeah.
You know, and like Melee exclusively. And I was like, what is a Grand Theft Auto? And then of course she never let me buy Grand Theft Auto. I was like 9 years old, but we left those people's houses, and I was like, Mom, I want that game. I want Kingdom Hearts. And she was like, you can ask for it from your grandparents, because they were coming over. It was Easter, and they like to give us a gift.
Yeah.
They're always like, oh, what should we get your kids? And my parents were like, I don't fucking know. And they were like, ask your grandma for Kingdom Hearts. And my grandma, absolute saint, she goes to the grocery store and she sees, because you can buy games at grocery stores in France. And she sees Kingdom Hearts 2, and she's like, that's the name my grandson talked about. And so I started Kingdom Hearts 2, and so have you played them?
I played 1, 2, and 3.
So
and then Dream Drop Distance, the one for
Distance.
Dream Drop Distance for the 3DS.
So Kingdom Hearts 2, you start with Roxas. It's a whole other protagonist for the first like 5 hours of the game, and I was like, what the fuck is happening? Straight up, I was like, what the fuck is going on in this game? Because I had not played the first one. I had no idea what was happening, right? And I finished it. I finished the whole thing. I was like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
Because in the middle of the game, there's a big middle of the game sequences there is in JRPGs, right? There's like, they're raising the stakes. It's the end of the first half. And there's a boss battle against Demix, for anyone who's played the game, the guy with the sitar who's like
Is it
doing
the
water
one
stones.
with? Yeah.
He's
Okay.
like dance, dance. Like I forget what he
Yeah.
says in the
Yeah.
English dub, but I was playing with the French dub, which is legendary by the way for Kingdom Hearts. Very sad that they don't do it anymore. But Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2 were fully dubbed in French. They had a bunch of legendary voice actors. French dubs or shows are generally pretty good.
Fun fact:
And
that's the most optimal language to run Breath of the Wild in.
because less text.
Mm-hmm.
Bars. But you finished that boss fight, and I was trying for hours because I was ass at the game. I was not good at it, and I was trying for hours, and then Goofy fucking dies.
Oh shit! That sequence, I remember that.
Goofy dies. He gets a huge rock on the nose, and then he fucking dies. And then you spent the next 20 minutes fighting alongside a bunch of Final Fantasy characters, and then you fight 1,000. It's you.
It's like you in a
an
circle,
army
right?
of nobodies.
Yes.
Surrounded, and they actually, that moment. I'm thinking about it now. That moment is when I was like, "Holy shit, this is art."
Yeah.
Because everything was coming together. The music and the crowds. They had some crazy alpha stuff going on for like.
Mm-hmm.
Crowds, and you were fighting literally 1,000 nobodies. I think if you count it in the game, you fight 1,000 of them.
Jesus.
And then you get the big bad showing up, and you get all these things, and like it was so swelling
Mm-hmm.
that I was completely engulfed in it. And I think when I completely forgot that I was just playing a game and I was just experiencing something, I think for me that was when I realized that it was like art.
Yeah.
So Kingdom Hearts 2 is my weeb ass answer. What is?
No, that's a dope ass answer. I will give Kingdom Hearts so much shit, but I love that series just for how crazy it is. And I remember I played the first Kingdom Hearts on the PS2,
Mm-hmm.
and when Kingdom Hearts 2 came out, when Roxas appeared, I was like, "Who the fuck is this guy? Why am I him? Who is it?"
I think that was everyone's reaction, right?
Yeah, and then when you, light spoilers for
It's 5 hours into the game.
for Kingdom Hearts 2, and it's okay. It doesn't make sense because there's actually more layers to it. I've heard in other games, because it's like when I learned that like Roxas was like a nobody or a part of Sora, I was like, what the fuck? Huh? What does that mean?
You know, it never made sense to anyone, because this is I don't want to dwell on Kingdom Hearts too long because I could do a whole podcast episode about it.
We'll save it because we have a guest that needs to be here if we do a fucking Kingdom Hearts episode.
They put essential parts of the plot in a GBA spin-off, and this is typical for the Kingdom Hearts series.
Wait. It was it like that fucking
The card game,
the Yu-Gi-Oh
Chain
card
of Memories.
shit? Yeah.
It's Kingdom Hearts Yu-Gi-Oh
Is
on
that
the Game Boy
is that
Advance.
like deep lore?
Oh, dude, this is the first introduction to like the organization. This is how Sora gets into the bubble. This is, you get introduced to Naminé, you get introduced to like playing as Riku, and Naminé puts Sora in the bubble, puts him to sleep, and then Roxas comes about, and then this is how you get introduced to all those people like Ansem and stuff.
What the fuck? What the fuck?
Stupid shit, man. They put in a fucking. In Japan's defense, it did release in Japan on the PS2. But that was anywhere else. I mean, this is like the latest lore that we get for the continuation of the Kingdom Hearts series is in a fucking rhythm game on the Switch. Like post Kingdom Hearts 3 stuff, it's on a rhythm game on the Switch.
You're fucking joking. Jesus Christ, are you serious?
And then all of the pre-Kingdom Hearts like lore content, like before Birth by Sleep, basically, which was a PSP spin-off, by the way, is in a fucking gacha mobile game that is now not even playable anymore.
Oh, what the fuck? Okay, home. We need to do a Kingdom Hearts episode at some point because I need this explained.
Yeah,
for
we'll
me.
do an episode where it's an hour and a half of me just explaining Kingdom Hearts.
We do need. You know who we need.
Yeah, I know who we need. We'll talk about it.
Yeah.
What is your answer for that?
Oh
Is
shit!
it God
I
of War?
forgot. No, I think mine. It was. I didn't think yours was as early as mine, but I remember I got. It was Metal Gear Solid 3.
Mm.
So that's a very generic answer, but I never played a Metal Gear game until 3 because my cousin got in trouble and he got his full PlayStation and games taken away, and he was like 17, like 16
Mm-hmm.
or 15, 16. And so we had this game, Metal Gear Solid, and I'm like, oh, what's this? It's like, and I heard there was a snake involved. I'm like, oh, that's crazy. And I'm like, and then I just fucking started playing it, and then there was a whole sequence, and like every kid goes through a James Bond phase, and it has the fucking opening where it's like Snake Eater, and then it's just like fucking popping off, and just this chick singing with her whole ass out to the world, and I'm like, what is this? And then like there's this, I'm not gonna go too into it, but there's this one he's a very famous boss, but it's basically like this old man who's a sniper, and he's trying to kill you, and he'll beat the shit out of you. But I was playing it, and I killed him naturally, and then I go to school the next day, and we're talking about Metal Gear, and he said it's like, oh, I never fought him because my friend like played it, got to that part, and then he went to go play something else and came back a month later, and he was dead. He died. So the way it's set up is that character who's old as shit can die of old age if you don't play for a certain time, because like the way the memory card saves, there's a time on it.
Yeah.
And so if you open it up like within a time frame, I don't know what it was, but it's like if you replay it again, he just dies of a heart attack because he's old. And I'm like, that's fucking crazy. And then it's
That's
like
very Kojima.
Yeah, and then there's like more stuff to it that I found out later. That like if you kill, like there's like a sequence where like he's guilt tripped and is like drugged out, and he sees a bunch of ghosts and shit.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like those are all people you killed, and if you don't kill anyone, no one's there. It's like there's those little things, and the storytelling, and the final twist with Boss and
yeah,
and like that whole shit. I'm like, what is this? Like, it's an experience. It's not just go from point A to point B. It's everything. And you can add so many details to video games, and I think that's why whenever Kojima releases anything, everyone's like, what the fuck is it gonna do?
Right, because he's known to just like push boundaries.
Yeah, and just do weird shit that no one's thinking of.
Mm-hmm.
And whether it could be good or bad, who knows, but he does it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, a lot of people don't like Death Stranding, and the only reason I enjoyed it is because we were in the fucking pandemic and had to stay inside.
And you got to like, it's hiking simulator.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, I don't have to think of the world right now. I can just, it's relaxing, and like I wouldn't want to stay there and spam the whole game in one go. It's like just take breaks and all that shit.
Mm-hmm.
It's cool.
Yeah, that is cool.
I'm still reaming over Kingdom Hearts, though. I'm gonna be honest with you. That shit really bugs me.
I am such a hater of the series for someone who has every single game and every single re-release, and I love the games so much, but god damn. But I think they peak with Kingdom Hearts 2.
Yeah.
At least with the gameplay, the battles, especially in Final Mix.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, it feels so good.
I haven't played Final Mix. I've heard I needed to if I loved Kingdom Hearts 2.
Yeah,
which I do.
it's worth it. It's worth it. I finished the original Kingdom Hearts 2 like 5 times.
Mm-hmm.
And I finished Final Mix once, and I always rank Final Mix above.
Wow.
Yeah, I really, really liked Final Mix Plus. But I think this is a good natural end.
Yeah.
to maybe this podcast.
Yeah. That's a solid ending. Thank you everyone for listening.
Thank you for listening.
This is Adrian. That is Matt. I hope you have a beautiful week, and I hope you hate our beautiful faces or you love our beautiful faces. No in between.
I'd rather not be hated if we can, if it's at all possible. Indifference is okay. I'd rather not be hated.
I don't know. We brought up Kingdom Hearts in the second episode. There's gonna be some anger
there's gonna
on.
Be haters.
There's gonna be haters no matter what we do. All right, love you.
I accept the consequences to my actions.
I don't.
Follow us on Twitter, Broken Bell Podcast. Yeah. Goodbye.
Bye.